already now it's possible to turn back the age of human bodies. And it's not science fiction. We already have hundreds of people in the world who have done this with their own body. If we manage it to democratize this, not only for people who can afford the big numbers, but everybody, what would this world look like if we have this?
Hey everyone, welcome back to Looking Outside. I am so excited about this episode. We're filming this live in Leipzig, Germany, straight after 2 amazing days at the Rule Breaker Future Congress, which is an incredible event organized by To Be Ahead and its founder, guru, amazing thought leader who is joining me today, Sven Gabor Jansky. Hey Sven.
Hey, nice to be here.
Thank you so much for setting this up. This is awesome. And I interviewed 3 of the speakers yesterday who came out of the event as like really full on 2 days, but super energized by everything that we were seeing and hearing. So congratulations first.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
How many years has it been running now?
It was the 24th edition, so 23 years. If you start with edition 1 in year 0, then you have 23 years, and then edition 24. Yeah, it's a long time.
It's incredible. Yeah. I can't wait to get into that because I'm sure that you've seen a lot of interesting things emerge from the Congress, because the whole point of the Congress, by the way, is to bring in, hence Rule Breaker, those innovative thinkers that are really trying to do things that are cutting edge, that push the envelope. So you would have seen a lot of amazing things during that time.
Absolutely. So we started in the first or second year, we discussed about the future of music industry, because back then there was this MPEG-3 technology which made it happen that you could not only buy with a compact disc, but you could download it and you could share it and you could copy it, and so the music industry was in big trouble, and we focused on that. And then in this edition we predicted that yes, you will lose, of course, the industry will lose revenue and employees, all that stuff, but in the end you will come up with a new business model, a digitalized business model. And we described this business model as, imagine a water tap. You pay a monthly fee, it just runs out, and this was our picture of the future for music industry. And if you look at the music industry right now, the streaming, which is just, it flows out, personalized, you pay a monthly fee. It was actually the same. We did not know the term streaming, but this is new. But we described what the major business model of the music industry is now, and we described it 20 years ago. The second example, everybody remembers the iPhone moment. Just Steve Jobs on stage and the iPhone. And in 25, at the Future Conference, at the Rule Breaker Conference, interestingly, we had the topic, the future of mobile phones. And we invited the Chief Strategy Officer of Nokia, Heikki Nordhaus was his name. And he came and he explained us the future of mobile phones, and he explained us the iPhone. And not only the iPhone, but also the business model behind, the app store behind the business model. And he explained this 2 years before the big iPhone moment. Everybody was excited and new, and nobody knew. We knew.
You saw it coming. And what's awesome is that on the website, and you can actually go and have a look at this, you can go and see some of the predictions that you got right.
Exactly.
So I was joking on stage that I'd love to get into that. So maybe 5 years from now, we can check if I got anything right.
Yeah.
You can add that to the list. But that's awesome. And I mean, the whole idea is that you're helping people to see what's ahead, but you're also kind of provoking them to invest in the future.
Absolutely, yes. Because future is made basically out of 2 things. You have what we call the future forces. So we analyze, so we are scientists from heart. We analyze the big future trends of the world. And meaning the most powerful organizations of the world, what are they driving forward? What are they investing in? And what are their expectations? What we will get out of these investments today in 5 to 10 years? And this kind of sets the scene for what is possible for entrepreneurs, for rule breakers. This is the first point. And the second big player in this game, in this innovation game, are the rule breakers, entrepreneurs, people who who don't accept what others believe and think, hey, this and this should be better. There should be a better way to do this and to this.
Yeah.
And I call them the rule breakers because they don't accept the rules others accept, right? And you have these rule breakers in every industry. And when both comes together, so the big future trends, the future forces are friendly to you as a rule breaker, and you break the rules, then you define what's coming next. And what we do is, in our day-to-day work, we analyze these future trends, these future forces, and in these conferences, we invite all the rule breakers to be connected to them and to be connected to what they do, and to help them a little. And then the investment case comes in. If you do this as a futurist, if you do this for 24 years, and you see that you are quite good in predicting the next, then you come to a point when you say, hey, why I do tell the others about this amazing stuff, why I don't invest myself.
Yes.
And so we decided to invest ourselves. 7 years ago, we started investment funds. So we run 3 own investment funds, invest our own money and our customers' money in these rule breaker trends.
That's incredible. I mean, that is just amazing that you do that, truly. You know, sometimes as futurists in the foresight field, this is a question that we get from everyday people is, if you can see what's coming, like, why aren't you banking your own money, like putting your own money against it? And that's literally what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's incredible. And you're also investing in the future yourself, because I can imagine that you push for the investments that you believe will make a better future.
Yes, sure. So, but basically, it's not based on my belief, but it's based on our studies. Yeah? To give you a rough picture, we do in our institute 10 deep dive interviews a week. Deep dive interviews means we ask chief strategy, chief innovation, chief foresight, chief technology officers from big companies, 2 hours interview about their predictions of the future. And if you do 10 a week and 500 a year, and then for 24 years, then many interviews you have, and then you have some AI which summarizes and analyzes and so on. So in the end, you have studies, you have predictions on the next 5 to 10 years, basically in each industry. And then myself, I read the studies. Sometimes I read the interviews, but I don't have time to read everything, but read the studies, read the analysis, and so on. And then you find in these studies, you find these rule breakers. You find analyzed, hey, this industry will change this way, and this technology is better than this, or seems to be better than this technology. And then what I do is I follow these predictions from these studies. I hop on a flight, I see the teams over there. We invested in, I give you some examples. You are from Australia. We invested in a company from Sydney, University of Sydney. It's called HB11 Energy. It's about nuclear fusion. It's a specific technology in nuclear fusion. The University of Sussex in Brighton, in England, UK. Quantum computing, University of Berkeley, cryopreservation, Stanford University. This is one of our recent investments. It's about an artificial womb. And in Tel Aviv has 3 big, great universities. So what we see in the studies is technology teams, mainly in universities. Sometimes they already spun off, but in universities. And then we connect to them, and I try to help them to spin their technology off, and I can be the first investor, which is, to be the first investor is nice because it's cheap. It's the cheapest way to invest. Yeah. Of course, also with the biggest risk, but for the risk part, we have our studies, and that's why I say we invest only based on our studies.
Yeah. And as an early investor, one of the first investors, you're also, I imagine, building a relationship with these founders, these rule breakers, so that you are almost like a support system for them as they go through their journey. Yes,
we are. So you saw Xiaxi from California, from Berkeley. She was one of our first investments. Now she presented at the conference. And what she did is she found a technology which which enables us to freeze liquids, but without being crystalline. And if you freeze liquids without being crystalline, then you can freeze organs, human tissue, and you can defrost it, and then it works. Yeah? So it's kind of a cryopreservation for organs, and it's a huge market in the future. Yeah. We invested, I think, 8 years ago or so, 8 years ago, one of our first investments, and it's exactly as you say. So in the beginning, these amazing scientists need some money. More than the money, they need mental support. They need somebody who believes in them. They are surrounded by people who don't believe in them, who say, you're completely crazy, you will lose your money. And so they need the first believers. And then in the second stage, they need somebody who connects them to strategic partners or strategic investors. So especially Xiaxi, I could connect her to one of the wealthiest families in Europe, so the Swarovski family, and they became the lead investor in the second and third round. So this is what I can do, and then I can invite them for the conference, and then they meet you and the other amazing guys. So, yeah.
I've spent so much time with Shashi, where she is an incredible woman. Yeah. I mean, the background that she has, the journey that she has in coming to America, and starting this business, this idea. And it's only the beginning, right? This is what was really inspiring for me hearing it, is that, yes, she wants to preserve organs for longer so that we don't have this wastage in the organ donor system. But then, she wants to do so much more.
Absolutely. This is a typical scheme in this deep tech, in this amazing technology development. You have to have a short-term revenue perspective. Right. But long term, it's even bigger, yeah? And in this case, the short-term revenue perspective is, of course, a saving. So I learned that 80% of the donored organs are wasted because they never. So you cannot preserve them. They are good for 1 or 2 hours, and it's nothing. Yeah? But if you can cryopreserve them for, let's say, 48 or 72 hours, then you can reach every point in the world by intercontinental flights and so on. So this is the very short-term first revenue. But long-term, imagine that every person, I learned almost 50% of dying people die by a failure of one of our organs. So at this point, if you have kind of a spare part or organ somewhere in a cold chain or in a cold chamber in a hospital, you have your stem cells and you can frozen, and you can, out of these stem cells, you can print an organ in a 3D printing, bioprinting way. Then you can live longer. Yeah, so you don't have to die. This is the big perspective of this.
Yeah, and an organ that's tailored to your DNA, so you don't have to use immunosuppressants for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's incredible. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was you had these mini fireside chats with people throughout the Congress, and a separate stage to kind of dive into some of the challenges that these organizations and leaders face. And there was one panel with Himid and Shashi. Himid's already done a podcast with me, but I'm trying to get Shashi on the show.
Yes.
Where they spoke about the risk that they take in bringing this idea to the world, and then the beliefs that they have to have in themselves to push through all of the no's that they get, trying to, maintain their confidence that they're on the right path. So I know that what you're doing would have been an incredible support system for them. And I mean, your title in Germany is Mr. Future, if I'm not mistaken.
some newspapers came up with this title, yes.
Pretty big confidence boost. Yeah. But I can imagine some ideas that you hear from these founders are no-brainers. Yes, of course, we want to preserve organs longer. Great, let's do that. And then we can see where it takes us afterwards. Other ideas are a little, as I like to say, wacky, right? Mm-hmm. So immortality, living forever. Yeah. Very visionary ideas, and I think we need that in foresight. And when we're talking about the future, we need those people that are
Absolutely.
Just stretching our thinking truly into the further out future, or maybe into the impossible spaces.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that when you're thinking about investment?
That's a great question. So let's take this immortality as an example, because immortality is a combination of technologies. Of course, if you see the term immortality, you think, hey, crazy, don't believe this, nobody is immortal. But if you see this as a combination of different technologies, which each of them has an impact on living longer, then in the end you might come to the belief that immortality is possible. So let's focus on some technologies there. Of course, we have the genetics. It's a matter of a few bucks to analyze your genome, which was billions in the past, but now it's so, and it will shrink. The price will go down to cents probably. Mm-hmm. So this is a no-brainer. Then you have the possibility to edit your genome. We saw Liz, amazing scientist, Liz Parrish. She tried on her own body 10 of these existing gene therapies, and if you look at her, she. I may name her age because it's public. So she's 53, 1 year older than me, and she looks like 25. Or so she proves that gene therapies, and by gene therapies I mean you get an injection, and that's it. so it's not the half a year or whatever. So it's just an injection. So she proves that by gene therapies you can be healthier, you can edit your genome, and so on. And this makes your lifespan, again, a little bit longer, but probably not for immortality, but a little bit longer. And then you have Hamid and what he is doing in the food industry. And in the food industry, at least probably you know more about the food industry than me, but in our studies we use the term medical food because you can use food to every day to optimize your microbiome in the gut and so on. So for many things. So, and if you put all these technologies together, and the spare part organs and so on, yeah? If you put all these technologies together, then you come at least to the point that the human body can live for 120, maybe 150 years. And not in the far future, so not spaceship Enterprise or whatever, but in the next, let's say, 20 years, maybe 20 to 30 years. So everybody who makes it, who stays alive the next 30 years could participate in this technology. And then another technology comes in, it's from the computer space, AI and so on, it's called brain uploading. So we already see that so small parts of BCI's brain-computer interfaces are possible. And now the question is, if you live, let's say, up to the age of 120, then I do it for me, I'm 52, then I have, let's say, 70 years time. And if in the next 70 years, the brain uploading is possible, then maybe my body will die, but not my brain, not myself, my identity. And this is one form of immortality. So, but your question was, how do I pick my investments, right? This big thing of immortality, I separate this into different technologies, analyze these technologies, which technology will be available for many people, for mass market, not only for the very wealthy, but for masses, let's say in the next 10 years. And these technologies I'm investing in. The others I observe, I carefully look at them and I analyze them, and I know the people already for the moment when it becomes likely that in 10 years there will be a mass market for this.
The probability goes up.
Yeah.
I really like how you point out that nothing sits in isolation in itself. All of these things build to create this future. So you're observing all of those different elements. And obviously, like a big element of this is also change or change management, which is so much of what we do in Foresight, is just getting people to think differently and to accept that change is a part of life. And that slight feeling of discomfort that you have is normal, and it's okay to sit in that for a little while before you don't bury your head in the sand like the ostrich, like we saw in Jose's presentation. But keep going. However, that kind of is the thing that we're up against, particularly in industries that are moving a lot slower, is that they're a little bit overwhelmed with the pace of change. Do you feel like there are any technologies or industries that are moving too fast?
That's a good question. I never thought about the question if they do it too fast, because I'm analyzing what is likely to. So it's completely unlikely to get them moving slower. They move so fast, right? And not they have to adapt, the others have to adapt to the speed. Because it's the speed of technology, it's the speed of computers. And what we see in the computing field is that between, so the first computers, you remember the 1940s, the first computers were built, and between 1950 up to 2012, so 2012, we had this Moore's law that every 24 months the capacity of the computing capacity doubles at the same price, and this speed is not there anymore. Since 2012, we see the doubling of the computing capacity, which was in the previous years every 24 months. We see this doubling in 3.4 months. So this is the result of a self-learning artificial intelligence, right? And in the future, when it comes to quantum computers, so they are there, of course, now, but to use them for a normal company, in a normal industry, to use quantum computers, we predict for 2028. And when this will happen, then the speed of doubling the computing capacity will even increase, and you will have the same thing, doubling the computing capacity in 6 weeks, so in 1.5 months. So there is no possibility to slow them down. The only possibility is to speed you up in the other industries. Yeah. And that's why that's a big thing. As you mentioned, it's a big thing to make people aware what is happening in the other industries, and to make them aware the changes, the speed in these other industries really affects you in your industry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I really appreciate that you did intentionally bring food into the Congress. I don't know if you've done that in a bigger way in the past, but I thought it was a really nice compliment to the Congress. And surprisingly, two things that I noticed was, obviously you had a very large audience, and many of them were startups, entrepreneurs, innovators. Yeah. Some of them were just really curious people that wanted to understand where the future was headed and take that back to their own industry. I had some people come up to me afterwards saying, that they are actually in the food industry, and they appreciated the links that you were making for them. So that was great. And then there were just a lot of people who, it came of their own accord, because obviously you've created this reputation for this event, that this is a place where you can learn about the future, that you can be curious.
This is a very new thing. This year was the first conference when we opened up for public, so for interested people. In the previous years, we had a conference much smaller, so 200, 300 people, very focused on industries. We got together the chief innovation, chief technology, chief foresight, whatever officers from industries, but from companies. And so we discussed all these things, and they took it back to their companies, but it was only for the bigger companies, because only bigger companies have chief foresight, chief strategy, and so on, not the small and the medium ones. And I found a year ago, that I'm not really satisfied with this as a futurist, as a future scientist, only to work for the bigger companies, the governments who can afford it to buy or to pay for the big projects, right? And since then, I changed the main strategy of my institute, and the main strategy is now to break this incredible, beautiful science of futurism, to break it down in small pieces, in formats everybody can afford. And that's why we opened the conference this year, basically for everybody. So I feel that we, foresight experts, futurists, we have the responsibility to bring this beautiful science, what we are deep in, to the masses, right? And that's what I and my employees in the institute, what we are working at. You saw only the second or the third step. There will be many more steps.
Yeah, that's really exciting. All the futurists that I spoke with at the event were really passionate about that too, democratizing foresight and helping to translate it for people that are less familiar. Yes. And it really just starts with creating a place and a space where you can intentionally look into the future and see what's coming, which is what you've created, which is amazing. I mean, obviously, as a futurist, you do have to stay objective, and that's sometimes a challenge, is not to get your own emotional reaction feed into the web. Yeah. But, you know, there are some things that I think we personally, as individuals, get really excited about. So I'm curious, of everything that you saw in the Congress, what was that one thing that personally got you excited about the future?
Many things. But if you ask me for the one, then I would say it was so Elizabeth Parrish, and she explained that already now it's possible to turn back the age of human bodies. And it's not science fiction. It's there. There is technology. There are some regulatory issues in US and in Europe, but in other parts of the world it's already done. We already have hundreds of people in the world who have done this with their own body. Only hundreds because it's very expensive. It's 350,000 euros for an injection. Of course, health insurances don't pay for this and so on, but it's there. It's there. And I met Liz in 2016. I invited her for our conference. So she was the second time here. And back then, she basically told the same story. Okay. But I did not really buy this because it was a future story. It was a science fiction, and now it's there. Yeah, and it's only 9 years. Oh, 9 years is a long time, but it's 9 years since then. So basically, that this is there, and that I could, if I would have enough money, which I have to count, let's say. But I can call somebody, a doctor, and they will analyze my body, and they will come up with a suggestion which kind of gene therapies I should take to reverse, to turn back the age of my body. Mm-hmm. This really got me. For two reasons. First, for myself, because I promised my kids I will try everything to become at least 120. And the second part is, if we manage it to democratize this, not only for people who can afford the big numbers, but everybody, what would this world look like if we have this, right? This point got me.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, I think sometimes when people hear about those types of technologies and it being applied to ourselves, we might question whether we want that or not. But what you sparked for me was when you mentioned your kids, and like, imagine if you could give this gift to the people that you care about. You know, why wouldn't you want your parents to live longer? Yes. And for me personally, I'd love my dog to live another 10 years. So maybe we can work on the next species after humans. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, let's add one thing, because I just remembered it was the very beginning of the conference, so I almost forgot. But
Robert?
Rob, yes, Rob Lacascia. Rob tested with, he's an AI guy and an artificial intelligence guy from Silicon Valley. And he created an AI technology which duplicates you. So this AI tool talks in exactly with your voice. It tells, if you train it, it tells exact your stories, and based on your knowledge and based on your, I don't know in English, in Germany we call this the shame level, so which words you use and which not, and on your level of humor and so on. So it replicates you, right? And I tried this only because the briefing call with Rob was only 10 days back, so we had only 10 days to train this. It's too short. But I already showed in the conference what is the result, and it was not perfect yet. But if you train this for, and I will, of course, for let's say 6 months, then it's basically you. Of course, it's not you, but it sounds like you. And yet now imagine you not only have one of these things, but 2 or 3, and in the course of the time they learn, and maybe they learn more than myself, and then I can connect with them and I can talk with them. They can talk among them, so from each other, and in the end, and the end is not decades, the end is this end is maybe in 5 years or so. We are living in a world in which most of the conversations of the world are between these AI agents, right? And this is also remarkable for me because I saw that AI agents, of course we are talking in the future, we are talking about AI agents every day, but these AI agents are replicated persons. So it's kind of human. It's kind of really personalized, right? It's not the whatever, the ChatGPT or Perplexity or something. It's a part of yourself. If you take this idea and try to imagine what will be in the next 5 to 10 years, then this world will change, and I'm part of it.
Yeah, well, I think what you're making me realize, which I don't think it quite clicked for me before, was everything that you mentioned, all these examples are about preserving human life. There's a intrinsic value that we're aligning exists with humanity, and that we're trying to save it, preserve it, which is a beautiful thing. Not to, augment it and make it something that it's not, but to save it.
Exactly, and this is one of my major learnings from the previous years when I connect with these beautiful minds and these bright minds who create these technologies. If you have a direct connection to them, if you can talk to them directly, then you learn that maybe not 100%, but majority of these people really wants to make the humanity better, to better humanity, right? And if you look at the newspapers, what journalists or reporters write about this, who are not directly connected to these persons, they express their fear that this is not human and this is some whatever it is. But if you directly connect to them and you feel, hey, they are humans and they want the best for humanity.
Yes, they care, and they're surprisingly, maybe versus what people assume, like rigorous, and like they want to abide by the ethics, and they are taking as many steps as they can to make sure that happens. So it's a very thought-provoking and inspiring Congress. Again, congratulations on putting it together. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
It was wonderful. Your part was wonderful. Thank you.
And allowing me to stealing all of your speakers and bringing them on my podcast, which is awesome. We'll get those voices in front of more people. One last question for you, and what I'm really curious about, because obviously I'd love to know how you gain a fresh perspective.
Yes.
But I feel like maybe it's easy for you because you're very curious, you're very innovative in your thinking, and you get exposed to so many different things as a future scientist. Yes. So how do you get yourself out of the future into the present?
Into the present? Wow, that's a good question. I think, I don't think there is such a thing like the present. What is the present? The present is a second, maybe half a second, when I say a word. This may be the present, but everything what is behind is the past, and everything what is beyond is the future. And so my answer would be, I don't connect myself to the present because the present isn't there. The only decision I have to take is, do you want to base your everyday decisions about your life and so on, out of your learnings of the past, or would you get these decisions based on the predictions of the future? And if it comes to this question, I trust the possibilities of the future much more than the learnings from the past. Because if you try to, in a very neutral way, to look at this question, then our opportunities in the future will be much bigger than our experience in the past. Why to look to the past? I don't want to connect to the past, right? I want to connect to the future.
You are well and truly living in the future with every second. I love that. Sven, it's been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations again. Thank you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Wenn dir dieses Video gefallen hat, dann lade ich dich ganz persönlich ein. Komm zum Rule Breaker Zukunftskongress im nächsten Jahr, weil da gibt es mehr davon. Dieser Rule Breaker Zukunftskongress ist kein Kongress wie jeder andere. Das ist ein Ort, an dem du die Zukunft deiner Branche verstehst, gestaltest und manchmal sogar neu denkst. Die Agenda wird wieder voll sein von Rule Breakern, Visionären, Technologen aus aller Welt, von echten Unternehmern. Hol dir jetzt dein Ticket und ich verspreche dir, das wird sich absolut lohnen. Den Link findest du in der Videobeschreibung und über den eingeblendeten QR-Code.